welcome to the Ruby and Roses podcast. My name is Addie and I will be your host. I am the yarn dyer and artist behind Ruby and Roses Yarn, and this is a podcast primarily about knitting, a decent amount of shop talk, as well as a fun update of a brand new feature that's available on the website for all of my international customer base. It's also just gonna have a really fun update of a knitting festival that I'm going to be able to attend this year, as well as just some fun chatter along the way. So we'll see what happens with this episode. But I am going to be sharing a really fun, this already gives you a little sneak peek. If you're wondering why this looks the way that it does, stay tuned, because I'm going to be sharing my process of how I am sort of redoing this blanket. But before I talk about anything else, I really want to share my half-finished object first, because you've guessed it, I have cast off my very first sock. Can you believe it? Super exciting. This is my Deep Affection sock set, all knit up into this beautiful stockinette stitch sock, which fits me so well. I really love how it fits, how it looks. I just think it was super fun. This is, for those of you that don't know, my very first sock project that I cast on, I want to say like about a month and a half ago. However, it did not take me nearly that long to knit. I think I've developed second sock syndrome because I haven't cast on the second one yet, and this one I cast off several weeks ago at least. I think last podcast episode I was about right here. So I've knit quite a ways since last podcast, but it was just, probably took me a few hours, to be honest. It just has these beautiful speckles all over it, and I love how it's sort of micro striped with that beautiful fiery orange that I love. I have a Poppy Progress Keeper on here by Katie of Lock and Lou, who is just so talented. This Progress Keeper brought me so much joy because it matched the project perfectly. The coordinating tonal that I have paired with it is my Gallivant tonal, which is a beautiful pink toned taupe that just matches with anything with warm tones beautifully. It's like one of my all-time favorite neutral colorways because it just, that little bit of light pink just matches everything that has warm tones while still having that little bit of like a fun neutral pop. So the purple on this one is a tonal that I might add into the shop at some point. I'm not sure. You guys will have to let me know if you love this purple and want to see it in the shop at some point. But this sock pattern is by the Crazy Sock Lady. It's just her simple vanilla sock pattern. I will have it linked down below if you're interested in knitting one for yourself. I cast mine on using Magic Loop, which I said I haven't even cast on the second one yet, but it doesn't take up that much yarn at all. This is what I have left from my first sock. It's kind of what it looks like in the skein form. And then I made sure to use, I should have enough of my contrasting minis. Have it in a fun little project bag that I picked up when I was last in Wisconsin, which was, I think, last summer. Well, it's not true. I went there for Christmas. This was like about a year ago. That's crazy. Anyways, complete tangent. And I will show you the pattern real quick, even though it's all crumpled up in my bag. So excuse it being wrinkled. But try to not give away too much of the pattern since it is a paid for pattern, but that's kind of like what the socks look like. And it also has a YouTube tutorial along with it that's like an hour and a half. It was really informative. I definitely didn't watch the whole thing, but I did watch bits and pieces of it here and there, specifically for the Kitchener stitch, because that was something that I wasn't informed on before, so it was really interesting. I think I figured out how to do it like about halfway down, so it's not perfect, but I think it'll work. I also bought another needle because I was having a bit of trouble with my gauge, so after I finish this first pair, I'm probably going to go up 1/4 of a needle size. So thank you all so much for your recommendations in the last podcast episode for how to change the gauge, because my gauge was a bit too tight for me, but like I said, it fits me well. I just think it might be better in the future to go a little bit looser, and just to experiment, because it's just like fun to do that stuff. But yeah, here's my finished sock. and I love it so much. This sock set will be linked down below in case you're interested in knitting a pair yourself. My next work in progress is my Seasons cardigan. And my Seasons cardigan is just so squishy. I love this cardigan so much. If you don't follow me on Instagram, you won't have seen my progress photo of me trying this on. So if that's the case, I will pop it up on the screen so you can kind of see what it looks like on me, since I'm not gonna put it on now, but it would go with the shirt. This is my Stormy Shore colorway on my Fragrant Rose base, which is a 80-10-10 cashmere fingering weight yarn, and I'm obsessed with how just squishy it is, how soft. It has a really considerable halo to it. However, I don't think it's going to pill like too terribly much. However, I am used to my soft rose base, and this base will just never pill. Like, I have a blanket that I've knit out of it and I use it all the time. We use it all the time, my husband and I, and it just hasn't pilled. So I love this base. This one's just a bit more luxurious, so I might have to pay a little bit more care to it, but I wanted to share my progress because this cardigan is just knitting up so quickly considering the amount of time that I spend knitting on it, which this project's sort of taken a back burner, unfortunately, just because my last work in progress that I'm going to share with you has just been taking up all of my time, and I'm not mad about it. I think it's just a super fun project. Anyways, this cardigan was a little bit past, let me see how I can show this. It's so big. It's a little bit oversized, but I do love that about it. But I was, I think, about halfway done with the sleeve the last time I shared the progress of it. And since then, I have completed the sleeve. And I love how it looks sort of like a balloon sleeve. And since then, I have picked up the last sleeve, the next sleeve, and I've knit a few inches on it, which was funny because after I cast it off, I kind of let it sit for a bit because I didn't want to pick up the stitches for the sleeve. But ever since then, like, that part went really quickly, so I should just pick this up more. I kind of forget about it, to be honest, because it's not in my usual knitting spot, but it fits me beautifully. And I did make a modification on the sleeve. I decreased an extra 6 stitches than it was called for, spacing them out accordingly to my size. So for instance, it was a multiple of, I think, 11 stitches, I want to say, and those 11 stitches, after every 11th stitch, then I would decrease again, because I wanted it to be very tight around my wrist and I wanted it to be a little bit puffy. It doesn't look extremely balloon sleeved, but just that little bit I thought was a really classic look, and that was the only modification I made. I still did my 3 needle bind off around the cuff as well as the hem that I've mentioned before, and yeah, that's pretty much it. I feel like I've shared a lot of the details in past episodes. There's nothing really else to note. Oh, and I did say earlier, looks like a blanket. This base is my Fragrant Rose base, so it is a fingering weight, so I'm holding 2 strands together to make a DK weight yarn, in case that first part was confusing. But this colorway, I've gotten several messages about it because on the listing photo it's a very blue color, but some of you are concerned because on, like me, it looks a little bit more like lavender. So I would say that, and I'm also wearing purple, so the screen is kind of make it a little bit more purple than it is in real life. However, I think the beauty of this colorway is that it just kind of like matches the tone of whatever you're wearing. So like this is like, I would say pretty true to life right here. So it's definitely more of a navy. It also has some really fun royal blue pops in it that is really like an electric blue, and then just a lot of other really fun pops of color. As you can see, there's those like little chunks of electric blue. So hopefully that kind of helps. It definitely has some lavender in it. It's just a really kind of unicorn colorway in the fact that it's just very different depending on kind of what's around it, and just depends what the lighting is. So I love that about this colorway. I think it's so beautiful, and I loved getting to blend navies and royal blues and some purples together to just create a really diverse, vivid color. So that's my Seasons cardigan. Now on to my last work in progress, because this one I'm probably gonna chat about for a lengthy amount of time since there's so many like things that I have changed with this whip. So if you will have been following along since probably the beginning, I've been knitting on this for a very long time. I've taken several breaks, like a year-long break. So it definitely hasn't been a whip on the needles for a while now. However, a few months ago, I shared this blanket progress and the blanket project because I was thinking of pulling it back out, and I was debating whether or not to pull out certain squares in this blanket. Now I know I've already showed you this blue one, so you'll see that it's definitely been cut into. So I originally was saying how this is sort of like the beginning of my journey as an artist, and I should just leave it in there because it's part of the progress of like evolving as an artist. However, I've decided I don't want to do that anymore. It was because it's been sitting over the edge of my chair, which is kind of like where I put a lot of my projects. That is just kind of where they end up when I'm working on them. And this was just driving me crazy because this square in particular is just, ugh. If I was to sum it up in one word, it's just not good. So the reason is, I think why this is kind of what started the whole thing was the pink square, because pinks are my ultimate favorite color. I really want to create I'm a lot harder on myself with how I come up with pinks, I feel like, than I am with any other color. And just looking at this, I knew I could do so much better. Like for instance, why did I put like this cream in here or this like really barely there pink? So anyways, just little things like that were kind of driving me crazy. So I decided I'm just gonna cut out this entire square, like just scratch this entire square. But don't worry, the rest I'm not going to be doing that with, but that's sort of how it snowballed, this idea. So with that being said, I also decided to lay out my entire blanket. So I live in like a 1-bedroom apartment that's fairly small, so I pushed all the furniture out of the way like I did with my traveler's blanket blocking video, and I laid it out, and I just wanted to see what I would change. Just if there was no like hesitation with cutting out squares, what would I change from there? Which I highly recommend, by the way, to just kind of give yourself that space to figure out what would be the ideal solution to if something's kind of giving you a creative block, because that was really helpful for me. So I just laid everything out. I also laid out, let me see where I put those. I also laid out this square that I'm currently working on that's brand new. I haven't cut it out or anything. This is just one that I'll share in a second, sort of more of the details on this square. But I laid that square out as well as the next square that's all of the pretty pinks. And then I also laid out my 2 squares that are finished, and here they are. A little bit disorganized. So I laid this square out, which is all of the light blues as well as my green. And I just decided to kind of experiment and see what colors I would move around. And that was, like I said, super helpful. So I pulled yarn from my stash, and I just pulled mini sets that I sort of have set aside from my studio and just started placing them on top of existing colors. So this one I love. I'm not going to change this at all. Same with my blue square and the other 2 I just shared with you. However, I am going to be pulling out all of the yellow squares in here and making it more of an aqua lime green mix. And then the pink, I'm just gonna kind of cut out all together, and this will be my pastel square. So each one sort of has a vibe of some kind. So whether it's like a collection of color or a specific type of color and hue, it just kind of just depends, whatever I'm feeling. But the yellow square I replaced 3 squares from this section. So like this hot, like really bright yellow. I was gonna say hot pink, but that's no, like just a very neon yellow, and then this beautiful light yellow. And then I also put in this really pretty brown, this like brownish gold yellow. So the yellow one is done, and you know, I'm not going to be changing the red square, but some of the purple I am changing, as well as the blue. So how I'm doing this, because I've gotten so many questions on Instagram, and I'm sure a lot of you guys would love to know as well, I have been basically cutting out. So for instance, on this square right here, so like when I cut out, because this one is one that I've replaced, so I basically picked up all of the stitches along this side, and then this is where I would typically pick up stitches, so I just kind of cut that out all together. And then these two sections right here, I would also pick up the stitches for, if that makes sense. So basically anywhere where I would have live stitches, I would pick them up on my needles beforehand, and then I would cut it out. So then that way you're not risking any stitches kind of being pulled out. You're pretty much just putting them on a needle as kind of your lifeline, and then cutting the entire square out. So that's just like the basic how I did it. Now, with this blue one, I decided I wanted to replace 8 of the squares. So with that being said, this one was replaced, this one, and this one. And then I'm going to be replacing the 7 now on this row, and then the bottom row. So since I'm going to be replacing all of those, I did not bother to pick up the stitches between, like for instance right here. So I did not pick up the stitches here or there. And that was because, you know, I'm just going to be ripping those out anyways. So that square is pretty much just like knitting a regular mitered square. So nothing too complicated there. Now the tricky part comes when you have to pick up both sections. So for instance, you're picking up, let me see if I can show this. Okay, so right here, you pick up here, and then you're knitting your mitered square. Now the tricky part is how to seam, like knit these stitches together and these stitches together without creating a weird line. Specifically right here is where I find it to be the hardest. And I will knit across a row to the last stitch on the wrong side only, and then knit that stitch on the wrong side with the stitch on my needle. So I'm basically knitting 2 together on the end stitches on the wrong side row. So that's kind of how I am seaming it back together, if that makes any sense. Let me know in the comments if you have a question about this, and I'll try my best to answer it, because I know I'm not the best teacher, but I'll try to kind of show you, talk about how I'm doing it. I might do a tutorial if you guys want me to at some point, but I think it's pretty straightforward. I just keep all of these on different needles. So like my 2 edge stitches, I have just a set of DPNs that I'll put those on, and then just kind of slide it off as I need that extra stitch on the wrong side row. So that's what I'm doing. I've gotten a lot of questions as well on Instagram asking if I've thought about just cutting the entire square out completely and starting over. So the reason I didn't want to do that is because some colors I really do love in this that I don't want to change. Like for instance, this and this one, there's just so much of the same sort of color palette that I wanted to diversify it a bit. And this is already looking so much better than it was. You could go back to a few episodes ago to see what it looked like before if you're curious. But I really love some of these squares. I think it's super helpful to just, keep that in mind, and all of the border knitting that I would have to re-knit just for like cutting those out. So technically it is a little bit more fiddly, but I'd rather take the fiddly than I would re-knit the entire border on these squares. So I hope that kind of explains why I'm doing it this way, sort of the method behind the madness, but I have been really enjoying this. So this is the project that I'll knit on in the evenings for the most part, and then this is the one that I'll take like out and about with me from going somewhere. So this one just needs a total of like 4 more squares done, and then the border. And I've sort of been knitting both of these 2 at a time in a manner of speaking, just because it's fun to kind of have 2 different palettes going on at once. But this square features my Untraveled Road minis collection, as well as Deep Affection. This was some from my sock that I added in. And then I also did a square of Gallivant. So since my last podcast episode, I had a total of, I think, 7 squares left to knit. I finished those 7 squares. And then I also have knit 2 of the edges of the border so far. So I have the other one picked up. or just one square, I guess. Must have just stopped after just that little bit. And then I'm going to be, picking up the stitches for this side and for the other side, and then this square will be done, which is super exciting. And then this one, like I said, is going to be the next one up. Just have to do one more row of squares and then the border on this. And then I'm going to start on just continuing to kind of do half and half of knitting on these active squares and then sort of picking out old squares. But it's just been a really fun challenge for me, I guess, to kind of figure out. I kind of sort of taught myself how to make that a manageable task, and I've just been enjoying it ever since. So yeah, that is all of my works in progress, what's been keeping me busy this last month. And now I guess we'll go ahead and move on into shop news. So like I've said, I have so much to share with you about this. I think it's going to be a really fun segment of today's episode. And I'm just gonna jump right in to talk about a brand new product that hit the shop, or I guess I should say collections, because I've been getting so many emails about when this specific product will be restocked, and it is my Misfits. So for those of you that don't know, I'll just sort of talk a little bit about what my Misfits are and what makes them amazing. So I brought a few home to share with you sort of what my Misfits look like. These are just 5 of my favorites that I wanted to share. 5 that I almost wanted to keep for myself, but I did add them into the shop. And these Misfits are just really, really fun. So basically all of my Misfit Skeins are one-of-a-kind colorways. So all of them are really unique, one-of-a-kind, just really amazing in their own right. It's pretty much skeins that have been my prototypes, so skeins that I have used in the design process of colorways for a specific collection. So there's nothing wrong with these colorways, just the fact that they didn't meet my creative vision for where I wanted the collection to go. For instance, one might have had too much blue for what I was going for, something along those lines. Or sometimes they're just colorways that I'm dyeing for the shop and as just regular colorways. However, again, maybe I'll have a splash of blue in there or pink, and that's not what the colorway calls for, so then I will add them into the shop as Misfits. The best thing about them is that they are 25% off, so it's just a huge discount compared to my other products that I offer. So these are all on sale. They'll be linked down below if you'd like to purchase one of them or all of them. They have been going so fast as well. So thank you all so much for your just warm welcome of these colorways. I've just launched them today, and my employee Josie has been working on adding them all into the shop, which has been really amazing, taking all the photos, which turned out so beautifully. And so each one is going to typically have a set of 3, but you can purchase them separately, of course. But very limited quantities are available of each one. For instance, there's some that are already selling out. I'm pretty sure this one only has 1 left, which this is just a really beautiful yellow. This is one that I'm almost tempted to sort of try to recreate for the shop, just because this is my favorite Misfit out of the entire collection. I think 40 sets of Misfits, so there was quite a bit from this collection, but I really love this neon yellow, probably because it's getting to be summer. And then this is like the same sort of purple that I'm using in my Deep Affection sock set. It has some really pretty blue speckles on there. And then this is just a really gorgeous green that's got some gold in it, some really fun pink speckles and some green. And then this is one that's just super fun and electric, filled with a lot of different shades of neon corals, some greens, yellows, blues, some hot pink in there as well. Just a really, really fun skein that I think would make a really pretty pair of socks for this summer. And last but not least, I wanted to share a Misfit that is dyed up on a brand new base that I will be launching in my Yarn-ary Islands collection, which is to be determined when the collection will go live, since I'm still waiting on samples and all of the things. But this is my rose bulky base. So you've been asking for rose bulky, or for bulky weight, for so long, and I'm really excited to get to share with you a little bit about my brand new base that I'm going to be offering. So it's a bulky weight, and it has 109 yards, and it's a 100% superwash merino base. So I'll go ahead and show you a little bit of the content of it. And then this is a Misfit. So this would just be a really fun hat or some really quick project. So I just kind of wanted to throw that out there in case you're looking for a few skeins of a affordable bulky weight yarn. And rest assured, more of this to come in the future months of summer. So these are all of my Misfits that, just a handful of them really. We spent most of the day yesterday photographing them, getting them in the shop. Today will be the last day of getting them all in. So by the time you're seeing this, they will all be available. And yeah, just a really fun collection of colors. And along those lines of all of the Misfit products, I wanted to share a really unique product that is unlike anything I've offered before. And this is a sport weight bundle that just features a really dark colorway, but I love the bright pops of color throughout. And this is called my Light in the Darkness bundle, and what really makes this product special is the fact that I will be donating 25% of all of the sales from these bundles to Ukraine refugees. And it's something I've had on my mind for a really long time to offer, and all of this just fell into place beautifully. Like the colors came to me and the base that I wanted to have it dyed on, and then just a really beautiful velvet ribbon to just kind of tie it all together. And I really wanted to find a way to support the Ukrainian refugees that have really been put in a really difficult position and been forced to face such a horrible conflict. And this company that we've decided to support is really amazing. I will have the listing link down below that has the company tagged in case you want to read more about them and their brand. But this company provides essential emergency supplies for the refugees, as well as life-saving care and so many other things that, again, will be linked down below in case you want to read for yourself. I will be donating the amount of 25% once all of them have sold. So if you're interested in purchasing this and helping me be able to donate that money, that would be really appreciated. And I will have that link down below if you're interested. But yeah, I'm just super excited, and I've just loved getting to see the orders roll in for these, because I think it's just really important that try to make a difference there. And yeah, I just have really been thinking about doing that lately, and I'm super glad that I was able to make that happen. These are on a one-of-a-kind sport weight base. Again, all the info's in the listing, and it's going to be available on sport weight, and I think I have 2 bundles left of a worsted weight base that is non-superwash. So this was my forte into dyeing non-superwash yarn. I've never done it before, but it turned out really beautifully, and I love how muted the colors are on non-superwash, since these definitely have black parts throughout, so it's not quite that intense on non-superwash, but it's beautiful just the same. And I love how subtly different each one is. Like, you can see all the different blue tones in this one. This one's much more purple. This has some beautiful gold in there, as well as, you can't really see it right now, but really some flecks of a dark magenta, as well as a saffron orange in this one. So this is much more heavily speckled, I should say. I think this would be really fun to knit a mini sweater out of. You could knit like a few tank tops if you wanted to, a hat, mittens, so many potential projects for this bundle. And yeah, it was just really fun to dye up. And like I said, I'm just super excited to be able to donate to a super amazing organization that is making a difference there. So the last thing I want to chat about that has to do with shop news is a really fun feature that Devin and I have been working on for quite some time now. And it is going to allow all of our amazing international customers to be able to purchase all of our products in your own currency, as well as calculate out all of the VATs, all of the taxes, all of that stuff that previously has just been an unknown for us. So I've been getting a lot of emails from like Australia or specifically England. That has been one that has been particularly tricky. And that is, yeah, that's just been something we've been really working on, because it's not ideal for us to kind of have it set up that way. And I feel like a lot of online shops sort of function in that capacity because it's very difficult for us to figure out those pricing, and until now it was just impossible. So I'm really excited to be able to announce this finally. So you'll be able to pay in your own currency, have all of that calculated. You'll even be able to view the website in the preferred language of your choice, and just all of that stuff. I'm also offering DHL shipping for the first time ever, and that is just going to allow for affordable shipping as well as really quick delivery. For instance, it used to be a 2 to 3 week turnaround time to get your package from to Australia or to England in particular, and now it will arrive in under a week. So that's just really exciting. I hope that will make everything much more affordable for you all, as well as just more feasible that you can start your knitting projects or crochet projects right away, since it will be arriving a lot quicker than it has in the past. So yeah, that's just something that is super exciting, and I will just have my website link down below, as everything is. I probably don't need to say that anymore because you all probably know that everything that I talk about is always in the description and my show notes. But yeah, I'm just so excited. I shared it on my Instagram stories when the DHL came for the first time because I was just like, this is so cool, because I've never had that before and I've been wanting to offer that for years at this point. So very exciting, and wanted to let you all in on that one. So that's it for shop news. I also wanted to chat about this past weekend's open house. So I talked about it last podcast episode, but I had a studio open house last Saturday, and I opened it up on Instagram and was gonna see who came, and it blew away my wildest dreams. It was so cool. I loved getting to meet a lot of you in real life, people that I've been chatting with for a while now, and it was just so cool to get that in-person experience that just is really cool. And I loved getting to kind of help you browse and just see what you were looking for and project plan. And I also had I almost said one-of-a-kind candles. I also had some candles that were from last year's advent calendar that I custom made with wax and wool. And I ordered a few dozen of those just to get to have at the open house, since I won't be selling candles online. So that was just really fun in-person shopping extras, I guess. And I also had VIP access to my Yarn-ary Islands collection. So that's the collection that I've been working on. I only had about 6 to 9 of each colorway, so hardly any skeins of each one. But it was really cool to get to see what color combos were your favorite, and quite a few of you purchased a lot, which was really fun and just really special. It was really a fun day for sure. And I'll be throwing in little videos as I'm talking, but I also, on Saturday, did some studio renovations. So Devin's parents came up, and we were just gonna do so much stuff to the studio. For instance, my undyed yarn room, I might put a little video in here or a picture or something, but it was just a mess. There was probably yarn just stacked up 4 feet high, not in bins, just piled in the room. And Josie and I were jumping over the bins and just trying to get organized, which was impossible in that space. But we got some floor to ceiling shelves, and they were able to kind of help us put that together. And I still have a few shelves to build because there's just so many shelves, but it's just revolutionized our inventory so far, and we're able to kind of store all the yarn needed for Advents, all the yarn needed for the next collection that I'm going to be doing, and just some mini skeins and stuff. So I'm really excited about that. And then we also got more grid wall. So it was just a really crazy weekend overall, but it was super special. And then this weekend, we're actually going to a trunk show in Indianapolis. So if you're local to Indianapolis, I hope you come. It's going to be so much fun. And I'm really excited to get to meet more of you guys, and just another in-person event after the open house. So I think that was all I had to share with you guys. I'm looking down at my notes, and I do have one last big announcement to share that I saved pretty much the best for last, I think, is the fact that I am going to Rhinebeck this year. I can't believe it. I'm so excited. I've only been one other time, and that was I think in 2019, 2018. So I'm going to be going this year, and I'm just really excited. So more on that to come, but I just kind of wanted to throw that out there as like a closing statement of we're going to Rhinebeck and I can't wait. You'll have to comment down below what some of your favorite Rhinebeck experiences, what are like some things that are must-dos at Rhinebeck, because I don't know, I can't really even remember what I did last time since it was so long ago, but I'm just really excited. I hope to just again meet some of you all in person and just do some in-person shopping myself, because I think Rhinebeck has like the best vendors, and overall I think it's just going to be a super fun trip this fall. So anyways, that is it for this episode. Thank you all so much for joining. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and if you did, please like and subscribe down below, as that will give me more exposure on YouTube. But yeah, that's sort of a little bit of what's been going on around here. And yeah, until next time, I hope you guys have so much fun with your knitting, and we'll talk soon. Bye.